everyone coming out tonight. Just note that it is a administrative committee meeting tonight, is all we have. And the first thing on our agenda is the boards and commissions. And I believe that's chaired by Councilman Lee.
Yes, sir, it is. Our first item on the agenda, and I'm pulling everything up on this phone too, is boards and commissions. We had an opening that we discussed at our last meeting about the tree committee, and we were informed that we were not sure about April Lane being able to remain on the tree committee because of her time that she had been on there, and now we have found out that she can. I think we talked about it at the last meeting, but you know, I'll leave it up to the administrative committee if they'd like to pass her name on to stay on that committee.
She pass it on.
That's okay with you?
Yes, pass it on.
Okay. And that completes all of our boards, right? I mean, everything is full except one other on the tree committee.
One other on the tree committee.
Okay. So if anybody's interested or know somebody, we'd love to have them. Next on the agenda is the proposed lease of land and sailboat storage building. This is a lease that we received from, the Yacht Club. That, from the best I can tell, it's the same exact lease that the Arts Council asked us to approve for them about 5 years ago, and we approved that one, and since then have renewed the lease. It is for the purpose of maintaining the building for their storage, maintaining the grounds for the sailboats and day sailors or whatever they're called. So I will say I do remember, and I have heard this a lot of times, if it hadn't been for the Yacht Club, that building would not be there now. They've been taking care of that piece of property for a long time, and I'll leave it up to the committee as to whether you'd like to send that on for the full council to hear it.
I say yes, send it on to the full council.
I'll say the same, send it on to the full council.
We will send that on to the full council for them to hear. And that's all we have for the administrative committee tonight.
Thank you, sir. The next is the Utilities Committee, a draft with updates on customer service. Who is the chairman of the
That is me.
Okay.
Quinn?
Councilman Quinn, you're on.
Well, thank you. Just a brief introduction to this, and I'm going to call on our town manager to give us a little bit more detail on it. But this service police update, current existing policies for Edenton utility customers. As I recall, I think it's pursuant to North Carolina Session Law of 2009 to ensure fair disclosure of agreement. When customers enter into agreement for utility services with the town of Edenton, it's extremely detailed, it's well written, very fair in its explanation of the agreements. And based on that introduction, I would appreciate your embellishment if you think it's appropriate.
Okay, I'll be happy to, Councilman. And as I noted in the agenda review memo, we're not asking the committee to formally recommend adoption of these policies tonight. We still have a little bit of work to do, but because, as Councilman Quinn said, it is a comprehensive update, we wanted to review it with you and see if you had any questions or concerns. And we hope to be back with the final version for you to review and consider at the August committee meetings. But in summary, there are about 6 major changes, or what I would say additions to the policy. And I'll take them in order. And if you go to page 4 of 21. And that is, we've inserted the section that Councilman Quinn referred to, that back in 2009, there was session law passed by the General Assembly that prohibited public utilities, the cooperatives, and investor-owned utilities from practicing certain debt collection services. And an example is basically if we had a customer who moved away, didn't pay their final bill, left us owing some money, and then they came back to town and didn't set up an account with us, but were living, say, with a relative, a parent, an aunt, whatever. The town could not make the person who is our customer responsible for that person's debt. And evidently back in 2009, some utilities were trying to do that. That if somebody residing in the household owed a debt, but were not the responsible account holder, we could not, in essence, transfer that debt to the responsible account holder. We don't do that. We've not done that. But I think it's wise to have that inserted into our policies. The next, the very first one had to do with the property management on page 3 of 21. And this is a situation that did occur recently where we had somebody to represent that they were acting on behalf of a property owner, that the landlord had hired this person to manage their property, and this person was representing that they had the owner's permission to work with the town to set up an account and also to help get a customer set up. And we were a little bit concerned because the property owner lived out of town, and we wanted to make sure that the property owner had in fact given this person permission to act on their behalf. And when we expressed that concern and tried to verify, the person called our hand and said, "Where is it in the policy? Where is that allowed? You can't make me get approved. You can't make me show that I have approval." And we said, "Well, you're probably right." So we went and searched, and that's when we found this. And this is a really good policy that other communities have, and I think even though it's only happened to us this one time, it's good to have it on the books and spelled out. The next major change has to do with on page 7 of the policy, and I don't believe we have this instance. If there ever were to be a development built on a zero lot line, the policy stipulates where the meter should be located so that we can have proper access. I'm not going to go over in detail tonight with you on the customer deposit policy. We are recommending a few minor changes to those. Over the years, our water and sewer rates have increased, and we feel like the deposit rate should reflect that increase in consumption. And then also we have seen where other communities have a different deposit rate for customers whose home is all electric, baseboard electric, because those customers unfortunately tend to use a lot of electricity, and their consumption is higher, and so we would want to make sure that we cover their consumption rate. But it's not fair that somebody may live in a real energy efficient dwelling unit should have to pay the same type of deposit. So we're working on that, and we'll have a more comprehensive review for you at your August meeting. The next major change has to do with meter tampering, and we have had instances where people have tampered with the meter, where they have basically stolen electricity from us. And when we find that, oftentimes thanks to the help from the police department or our meter readers, We have been following the general statutes and levying the charges and the fines, but we feel it is appropriate, again, to incorporate those laws into the manual. So that is on page 18. Doesn't happen often, but again, we think it's appropriate to have it in the customer service policy. On page 20, there are two changes. One has to do with records and data, and it has to do with consumer protection laws and regulations, and just make sure that we're following privacy legislation and not disclosing billing and account information to media, businesses, agencies, individuals not associated with the dwelling unit or who do not have permission from the account holder. Section 21, again, is another practice that we have been following, and you all adopted a resolution probably about 5 or 6 years ago to authorize the town to participate in the North Carolina set-off debt collection program. And that is a great program where if somebody were to move away, not close out their account with us, and we go through our debt collection practices and are unable to collect the outstanding owed bill, we then send that bill to the North Carolina, I believe it's the Department of Revenue that administers it. It's a state agency. And they have developed a clearinghouse, and that if that customer down the road files for income tax refund, our debt is set off and is subtracted from any refund that that customer may be owed. Again, we've been practicing this policy and following it as it was outlined in the resolution when the program was adopted several years ago. But again, we think it's appropriate to put the procedure in the policy. And I think that is a really brief summary of the actions. And one of the other benefits of putting this all together, having it in the policy, is that we can post this online, so our customers will know, it will be transparent, everybody will be able to access it. So we've been working on this now for about 3 or 4 months, and we're almost there, and appreciate hearing any comments or concerns, but we'll be back hopefully in a month with the final version. I want to mention on the debt set-off, we found out the other day, that includes lottery winnings. So if you win the lottery and you haven't paid some of your bills, you can get the debt set off. So I was glad to hear that.
Get it any way you can.
Get it any way you can.
Yeah, that's right. Any comments regarding that? Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the Finance Committee, and Councilman Dixon is not here tonight, so I have asked Steve if he would to take over since he's on that committee.
Be more than glad to. We only have 2 items under that agenda. The budget amendment for the CAMA grant for the bulkhead replacement project. I am so glad that we are where we need to be with this. As you have noted, for the budget amendment, the income for the CAMA grant was $100,000, and then out of the fund balance, we had already put in the budget this year for, well, we knew this was coming, so we provided for $44,800. And of course, then the expenses are going to be the bulkhead repair and the permits and the engineering fees for that covers the expense part. So a total of $144,800, and you send that on to full council. Okay, we will do that. And request for dues from Albemarle Commission. In Anne Marie's notes, she did note that the town, none of the towns with the Albemarle Commission actually get a vote anymore. That was changed several years ago. But the good part about Albemarle Commission is they are very, very constant, and I work with another commission on a daily basis. And I send out the little bumps that we get on Monday mornings, the Monday morning briefing. I send it to some friends of mine that are in another RPO that I'm in. And it's unreal what we get for our money versus what the Albemarle Commission does for all of us. They do a tremendous job. And I mean, I've seen Kathy in action now for, I guess she's been there a little over 2 years and has done might even been longer than that, but she's done an extremely good job. I would certainly recommend that we contribute. It's not a lot of money. It's only $750, but I would certainly say we contribute that $750 as part of us being involved with the Albemarle Commission.
Well, we've gotten a bill.
Yeah. Pretty probably like send an invoice on it.
Yeah.
The one question, Anne Marie, when we have stuff like this, do we normally pay it just as, I mean, I thought we always paid middle of the year and the end of the year. Is that correct?
We do, and what I would, and you're raising a good question, I would think you would want us to set this up the way you set up your contributions to the other agencies that you fund. You have an agreement. It's in writing. It says what the services will be that we'll receive. You require them to provide you a copy of their annual audit.
Right.
And I believe if the appropriation is less than $2,000, you do allow that appropriation to be made at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
But you require them to come and give an annual report.
Okay.
So if you'd like, I can work up a resolution and include that as part of the committee's recommendation for the August meeting.
Well, I think that'll be fine. Okay. That handles the Finance Committee. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now completed our agenda, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're done.